Hello again, Miss Joseph here to read Chapter 7 of The White Giraffe by Lauren St. John. Sorry, I can't really reach that far. I am still here at Bass. Lots of people nearby, so I still look like a crazy person talking to myself. But we are here to read Chapter 7, and I'm just going to go ahead and get started. The next morning, Martine woke feeling as if she were going to the dentist. For a long time, she lay there with her eyes screwed tightly shut, because that way she could pretend that none of it had happened. Her home had not burned down, and her mom and dad were not gone forever, and she had not been sent to the wilds of Africa to live with a total stranger. Finally, when she could avoid it no longer, she opened her eyes. A vast sky of the most incredible blue filled her vision. The clock on the bedside table said 6:05 a.m. Right on cue, an orange-breasted bird fluttered onto a thatch beam outside her window, and began singing a song of pure happiness. Titterotary, titterotary. I don't know how to say that word, guys. Propping herself up on one elbow, Martine gazed out over the game reserve. The water hole was draped with early morning mist that streaked with gold from the sun. A dozen or so elephants were splashing around in it, wallowing in the mud and spraying each other with their trunks. Zebras were grazing nearby. She shook her head in wonder. The scene didn't take away the anguish in her heart, but it definitely helped. Even so, oh, look at that. Oh, it's flying. Sorry, guys. I guess it's not flying. It just looks like it's having a good time. Kind of loud. Alright. Even so, she walked downstairs on leaden feet. Her grandmother was sitting at the kitchen table, her hands wrapped around a coffee mug. When Martine entered, she stood up quickly and said, "Good morning, Martine. I hope you slept well." Her voice shook slightly, as though she was nervous. Before Martine could speak, she went on hurriedly. "There are boiled eggs in the pan and some bread in the toaster and anything else you might need on the kitchen table. On the counter over there you'll find a lunchbox containing sunscreen, yellow cling peaches from the garden, and some cheese and chutney sandwiches. I have to go out now to feed the young elephant, but I'll be back at 7:30 to take you to school." Martine was still stammering a thank you when the door banged behind her grandmother and a gust of cool air blew in. It wasn't an apology, but Martine already knew that it was all she was ever going to get. Martine already knew that it was all she was going to get. Sorry. Alright. The dentist feeling returned on the 15-minute drive to school, most of which Martine spent squirming in her new uniform, hating the skirt and not knowing what to say to her grandmother. And it didn't diminish when Gwen Thomas drove her through the gates of Caracal School, and she saw the hordes of healthy, confident children who were to be her new schoolmates. They were every shade of honey, cappuccino, and chocolate. None were the color of Martine, that is to say, a sort of unhealthy gray-white. After her grandmother had left her at the door of the headmistress's office with a gruff but kindly "Have a good day, Tendai, or I will collect you at 4," she stood pressed against the wall, trying to be as inconspicuous as possible. "Be with you in a mo," called a voice when she knocked. Martine could hear someone speaking on the phone. While she waited, she took in her surroundings. Her old school, Bodley Brook, had resembled a concrete prison with a blacktop playground and peeling beige corridors reeking of disinfectant. The bathrooms had been covered in graffiti. This place didn't even look like a school. It was more like a lovely campsite. Log buildings made from glowing chestnut timber were scattered about grounds laid with emerald lawns and huge trees. Behind a wooden fence, a swimming pool sparkled. "You can close your mouth now. We still have the same boring old lessons you had back home. You know, long division, dead kings, punctuation." The expression on Martine's face must have said it all, because the Cleopatra-haired vision standing in the doorway, wearing wooden parrot earrings and a long purple dress, laughed merrily, and pulling her into the room, added, "Only joking. Our lessons are, of course, extremely interesting. I'm Elaine Rathmore, the headmistress, and you must be Martine. Welcome to Caracol." I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's right there if you want to say it differently in your head. Right there. Once she'd gotten used to Mrs. Rathmore's sense of humor, Martine couldn't help liking the headmistress, who was very down to earth. Mrs. Rathmore explained that despite appearances, Caracol was a school like any other, but it did have a strong focus on the environment. All the buildings were heated with solar energy, many school projects concerned conservation, and the cafeteria served only organic meals. They went through a copy of the rules together, and Mrs. Rathmore explained the schedule. Then they went for a tour of the grounds. Apparently, sports were a big deal at Caracol School, which had produced many champions. There was a gym with a climbing wall, and the sports field stretched for several acres. I'm going to pause it for a second because there's people coming. Alright, look, Lottie's laying right behind me. It's so comfy. She's being such a good girl now. Watch, I'm saying that, and now she's going to walk away. Alright. Sorry, there were people coming, and I didn't want to keep acting like a crazy lady. Alright. Where were we? I think we were over here. Yep, there was a gym with a climbing wall, and the sports field stretched for several acres. Oh, my distractions. Look, she's trying to eat my book. Naughty dog. Alright. "If you have a gift for sports, or anything else for that matter, we'll find it," Mrs. Rathmore promised. Martine, who knew perfectly well she didn't have a gift for sports, had in fact been hopeless at every sport she ever tried, thought back to Grace's words. "You have the gift, just like the forefathers said." What was the gift? Was it to do with science, math, art, or even music? Or something she couldn't even guess at? "Be careful," Grace had cautioned her. "The gift can be a blessing or a curse. Make your decisions wisely." What kind of gift came with a warning? Lucy Van Heerdeen, one of our talented prefects, Mrs. Rathmore was saying. "Lucy is in Miss Volkner's class with you, Martine." "Martine? We haven't sent you to sleep already, have we?" Martine blinked. An elegant blonde girl was standing in front of her, holding out her hand. Martine shook it and was surprised to find that it was ice cold. Judging by Lucy's caramel tan, she spent every spare hour surfing or sunning herself on the beach. After asking Lucy to take Martine under her wing, show her the ropes, and give her a very special Caracol school welcome, Mrs. Rathmore went on her way in a billowing cloud of purple, leaving Martine with her glamorous new classmate. "Geesh, but you're white," Lucy commented as soon as the headmistress was out of earshot. "Where are you from, Iceland?" "England," mumbled Martine. If she was awkward and self-conscious to begin with, she now felt a million times worse. Lucy giggled. "I'm kidding," she said, giving Martine a friendly punch that almost knocked her over. "Come on, we're late for Miss Faulkner's class. But at break, I'll introduce you to the rest of the gang." At lunchtime, Martine discovered that the gang to which Lucy had referred was...